Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back once again to an episode of Shadowtalk. My name is Bull, and for those that aren't aware, Shadowtalk is my video series where I talk about Shadowrun-related topics and my experiences and opinions about said topics. This week, we are going to talk conventions. There are several conventions going on, but the big one is Origins down in Columbus, Ohio. Origins is probably the second biggest tabletop-focused role-play gaming convention in the country after Gen Con. Gets about, I think last year, they got 12 or 13,000, 14,000, somewhere in there. I don't remember the exact number. It's been growing slowly but steadily for the last few years. And so it's a pretty decent-sized convention, held down in Columbus, Ohio every year in June or July, early July. Used to be right around July 4th weekend, but it's been kind of bumped back to June since Gen Con kind of bumps up against it a little bit in August. So, anyways, I figured I'd do a quick little video about, for sort of, A, my experiences at conventions, and B, what new people going to conventions might encounter. I've got a handful of friends who are at Origins, and it's their very first convention, or who will be going to Gen Con this year, and it'll be their first time at a big convention like this. So I figured, talk a little bit about that. Very first thing I want to talk about is what is commonly referred to as the 1-2-3 rule. I first heard about this from Adam Jury over at Posthuman Studios a long number of years ago, long ago. And the 1-2-3 rule is pretty simple and straightforward. And it is 1 shower a day, 2 meals a day, and 3 hours of sleep. This is the minimum you should be getting at a convention. Now, most people probably need a little bit more or should get more. And so for those of us like me that are getting a little older, we definitely need a little bit more than that most of the time. But for starters, 1 shower. Conventions have especially gaming conventions, have a little bit of a stigma and a little bit of a stereotype of the unwashed gamer. Fortunately, this stereotype is becoming less and less common as the years have gone on. But it does exist for a reason. Because you will sometimes get people that will attend these conventions, and hotels are expensive. So they'll come to these conventions, and they won't get a hotel room. They'll sleep in their car, or they'll, basically take naps in the hallways and stuff. I know in years past, people have some of the conventions would run an anime room 24/7, where they just were showing movies nonstop all weekend long for 24 hours a day, and people would actually kind of crash out in the corner of the anime room, which has the unfortunate side effect of meaning you're not taking a shower, and after 2, 3, 4 days of lots of walking around, being in crowded rooms with lots of people where it's usually a little bit warm, unfortunately that can mean people develop an odor. So, showering daily is a must. And if you don't have a hotel room, you should have a hotel room. But if you don't have a hotel room, find somebody who does and ask if you can use their shower. Something. Please. For the sake of everybody who's got to deal with you, please take your showers. All right, the second thing is 2 meals a day. Food is, depending on the convention, food can sometimes be a little difficult to come by. When Gen Con was still in Milwaukee, especially the last couple of years it was in Milwaukee, there were not that many food vendors nearby. And so many of the ones that were nearby would close pretty early. I know the mall food court had a tendency to close at 6 or 7, something like that. It closed really early, which meant that if you wanted to grab a dinner halfway late, you were kind of hosed. And most of the restaurants that were in the area, there were some great restaurants. There were some really good restaurants you could get some good food at, but unfortunately most of them were, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks away minimum. So you were looking at a bit of a trek. And a lot of gamers will pack their schedule pretty tightly, which means they don't have half an hour, 45 minutes, hour to walk to a restaurant, potentially wait half an hour to get in because the place is crowded, half an hour to eat, and then, you're talking 3-4 hours sometimes just, for a meal. And when you've got a crowded schedule, that's really difficult to do. So sometimes getting food is not as easy as it sounds, but it's critical. It's good for your health. You don't want to be going without food. So even if you're bringing some like breakfast snack bars or something like that, some granola bars, something to snack on, something to eat during the day, and make sure you have at least 1-2 good meals a day. Don't skimp out on the food. And then finally, 3 hours of sleep. And 3 hours really isn't much. When you're younger, you can kind of get away with it. When you get older, a lot harder to do. And like the first night of the convention, if you only get 3 hours of sleep because you stayed up too late hanging out with your friends, going out drinking, partying with your buddies, or you got into a late night game of something or other, and just didn't get home, didn't get back to your hotel room and get to bed until 3 or 4 in the morning, and then had to be up for an 8 a.m. game, it's really easy to only end up getting a few hours of sleep. And 1 or 2 nights in a row of getting very little sleep, you might be able to handle, but by the end of the weekend, you're going to be pretty wrecked. And here's the thing, is it's not just you that's going to be that this is a problem for. You could be really tired, you could be really dragging, you could be, not able to focus on anything on that last day of the convention. And that's going to affect your fun. So, for you, that's a bad thing. But also keep in mind that you're going to be playing games with other players. And these other players want their fellow players to be alert and to be active. I mean, if you're in a role-playing game, you're working together as a group. And if you got 1 or 2 players sitting at the table who are just, mostly unconscious, or they're just doing stupid stuff because they're so tired they can't focus, that potentially drags the fun down for everybody else at the table. And likewise, if you're playing card games or miniatures games or anything like that, it's competitive, a board game. As nice as it is to win a game, if I sit down and play, if I spend $2-4, whatever it is for a ticket to play a game, and I sit down at the table, and my opponent is basically brain dead, I'm not going to have fun. I mean, yeah, it's nice to win, especially if it's a tournament or something like that, but, I'm there, I want some competition. I want another player to, play, not just kind of, drop cards or roll dice and move stuff around a little bit and just be an idiot because he's so tired. So get your sleep. It's important. Otherwise, you're going to be a mess, and that's going to drag down you. It's going to drag down your friends, and it's going to drag down anybody else you might game with. So that's the 1, 2, 3. And like I said, obviously you want to try to do more than that. 1 shower's minimum. I've many times had to take 2 showers because you get up in the morning. I always shower in the morning when I get up. But then you're running around all day, and you get hot and sweaty and tired, and then you get back to, I might go back to my hotel room and take a quick shower and change and clean up before I go out to dinner or go out to run my evening games or whatever I do. So, okay, so that's a general rule. Like I said, food. And like I said, you definitely want to eat 2 meals, 3 meals preferably, because that's just healthy. And sleep, like I said, 3 hours minimum, but, if you can get, 5-6 hours of sleep, you're going to be much better off. 8 hours of sleep, probably solid. But, obviously there's a lot going on at conventions, so I'm no one to tell you to get 8 hours of sleep because I know I never do. Despite the fact I really wish I could. I get so tired by the end of the convention. All right. So that's that. So now the next thing is you're going to a convention for your first time. Are you going with friends? Do you know people that you're going to be going with, like that are going to be there, like from Facebook or from forums or something like that? This day and age, it's pretty rare not to have friends that live elsewhere, and friends that will be attending a large gathering like this. unless you're just not unless you're not much in the way of interacting on social networks and stuff. But if you're going to be going with friends, be sure to talk to them, hang out with them. I know a lot of people. I know plenty of people that go to conventions, and their main goal to going to conventions is gaming, and obviously that is a focal point for the convention. I mean, that's why the convention exists, is for games and gaming. But I know people that will go and they will sign up for 2, 3, 4 games a day. And when you're talking, these games are, 3-4 hours long sometimes. That's a lot of gaming to do every day. And while you might really enjoy the games, you're not going to get a whole lot out of the rest of the convention. So I always warn people, don't overbook yourself. The other thing is, especially the first time you're going to a convention, it's really hard to tell people what to expect if they've never been to a large convention. Like, I had been to a few local conventions. There was a convention down in Akron that I used to go to every now and then, that the local game club would hold, that got, a couple hundred people or whatever. But my first time going to Gen Con was mind-blowing, and Gen Con was way smaller. This was back mid-90s, 96-ish. They had 25,000 people maybe. I mean, it's still big, don't get me wrong, but it's, less than half of what Gen Con is now. But it was just a mind-blowing experience of how large this was, how many people it was, how busy it was. And you don't realize how tiring of everything can be. I mean, you've got your travel time to get there. You're in a new place, which means that you may not sleep as good as you normally do. I know I never do. So you get there and and then you sit down at tables and you start playing games. And gaming is kind of tiring. I mean, you don't think about it because most people don't game 12 hours a day. Or if they do have marathon game sessions, they do it once every few weeks or once a month, maybe once a week at best. I mean, I used to play Shadowrun 5-6 nights a week. But, we were hanging out, relaxed in couches and whatever, and just taking our time and doing whatever. And, even if we'd play 4, 5, 6-hour game sessions, it wasn't, we weren't hardcore gaming. But you get to these conventions, and it's sit down at the table with a group of new players, you get your explanations, you get your characters, you roll your dice, you do your thing, and then you get up and you move to the next game. And it's very mechanical to a degree that you're just up and doing and going and going and doing and sitting and playing and doing. And this can get really, it can get really exhausting. Your first day, you're probably fine. Second day might even be fine. But by your third day, you are starting to drag because you just, if you've been doing 8, 12 hours a day, 16 hours a day gaming, by the, second, third day, you've done a ton. So that's going to really, really kind of start dragging on you. My very first year at Gen Con, I got together with some friends that I knew from the Shadowrun mailing list. Shadow RN was the actual mailing list name. But anyways, we went to Gen Con, met up, and had a good time. We played a bunch of different stuff. We played some card games. We got into a couple of Shadowrun games. We didn't do a lot of hardcore. We weren't like wall-to-wall gaming. But the one thing we had done was we'd signed up for a Shadowrun tournament. And that was a 3-night tournament. And we played the first night, and that was fine. And we'd run around all day and seen the sights and everything. Second day, run around, played cards, got into a Shadowrun game, saw the sights, played the tournament. Third day, ran around, did our stuff. But by the end of that third night, we were so tired. We were all zombies at the table because it was most of our first convention. We didn't really know what to expect. And like I said, we overexerted ourselves. We overran ourselves. We did too much, saw too much, and just overstimulated. And, and this is back, like I said, 96. So this is almost 20 years ago. I was I was 21, 22 years old, something like that. 22 at the time. I was young. I could handle this sort of thing, and I was still dead on my feet by the last night. So there is just, like I said, there's so much to do. So you got to be careful with your scheduling because, like I said, you don't want to just overdo it. That said, find games that look fun. Sign up for them. Definitely get in there and play some stuff. I don't usually go to game conventions anymore to game because I like gaming. I love gaming. I enjoy it. It's obviously a major hobby of mine. Look behind me. But at the same time, conventions are also a major social thing for me. I know so many people that are at these conventions. Excuse me. I know so many people that are at the conventions and so many people that I only actually get to see in person once, maybe twice a year, if I'm lucky. And this year, not at all, since I'm missing out on both Origins and Gen Con, and man, am I bummed about that. But what can you do? Next year, we're going to party it up. We're going to do it right. Going to save up. But anyways, so you want to, yeah, like I said, you go, you see your friends, you do your stuff, but you don't run yourself ragged in the process. So, all right, I'm going to kind of talk about a little bit some specific stuff now. Origins versus Gen Con. I often talk to people, and people wonder what's the difference between the two conventions. The simplest way to put it is that Origins is a smaller convention. Origins is maybe 1/4 the size of Gen Con right now. And Origins is still pretty good size. A lot of the game companies still attend Origins. But you don't get nearly as many game companies going to Origins. That said, there's still a ton of stuff to do. There's still tons and tons of games. Shadowrun's a big focus for me, and I know that our Catalyst demo team runs a crap load of Shadowrun games at Origins and Gen Con, but they run a lot of games at Origins. And even though they sell out, they will fill in more tables, and it's amazing. So there's a ton of stuff to do. And Origins I always say that Origins is the convention to go to if you just want to relax, play games, and hang out with your friends. Gen Con is the game convention you go to if you want to experience the convention. Because like I said, Origins is, because it's a little bit smaller, it doesn't have the focus that Gen Con does. The companies don't usually have a lot of really big new releases. It's not a big exhibit thing. They don't show off new products. They don't do a ton of stuff. To a degree, they do some. You'll get a lot of companies, especially doing play testing of new games or whatever, or they'll show off a new game that isn't out yet. But Gen Con is generally where you get your big releases at. So if you're going to see game companies or you're going for the new releases and the new games, Gen Con is the one to go to because that's going to be the one where you have the majority of your game companies at. That's going to be the one where the majority of the new releases are at. Gen Con is a big focus for a lot of game companies. So there's a difference there. But, like I said, Origins, being a little bit smaller, is more relaxed. So it is a lot easier to find ways to just, get together with your friends and just hang out. Gen Con is bigger. Because it's so big, it's so crazy, it's so busy, it's so crowded, that if you just want to go hang out with your friends, it's much more difficult. But that said, you also have a lot more to do, too, when you want to do stuff. So if you want to get into games, there's more games to get into. If you want to go to seminars, there are more seminars to go to. There's a lot more restaurants. There's a lot more of other things to go to do in Indianapolis. So, it's one of those things. I love both conventions, but I love them for different reasons. Origins is my relaxing, let's hang out and just chill con. Gen Con is my go and just see everything and do everything, and it's exciting con. Food. Eating food and stuff is a big thing at the conventions. As I said, you've got your you want to make sure you're getting your 2 meals a day. But food can be a little tricky at the conventions. And of course, this changes a little bit every year depending on construction, because the convention centers and the surrounding areas are always being worked on. New things are being built, old things are being torn down. So, keep that in mind for anything I'm about to say, because sometimes this stuff changes. I know this year, I believe there's some construction going on at the Columbus Convention Center, which means that the food court isn't quite as accessible as it normally is. But Origins. We'll start with Origins. Origins has some fantastic eateries in the immediate vicinity. There's the, I believe, Northside Market, which has all kinds of little stuff in there. They're pretty much only open during the day, but it's a great place to go for lunch or whatever, or an early dinner. You got a lot of variety, a lot of very fresh foods and stuff. You also have the Arena District right there, and there's a lot of really good restaurants and bars right in that area. BD's Mongolian Barbecue is a big favorite of mine for an all-you-can-eat Mongolian barbecue style thing. Really good, lots of variety of meats and stuff, and you can just and like I said, it's a little pricey, but it's an all-you-can-eat, and it's really tasty. There's also an all-you-can-eat. What's the place called? It's I don't remember. It's Meat on a Sword. I know that much. Basically, they come around and they have big skewers with just various different types of meats on them. They'll come around and just keep bringing them over, and it's all you can eat. That place is pretty expensive, but it's delicious. I mean, just amazing stuff. Besides that, though, like I said, there's a lot of really good places. There's Barley's, which is a restaurant slash bar that's got some great stuff. And I know that this year they did they partnered up with I think Wizards and did a D&D themed menu and food items and stuff. So that's one of the neat things is the conventions will actually start doing. You'll get some of that synergy between some of the restaurants and some of the game companies and stuff, where they'll actually cater to the gamers a little bit, which is really cool. But besides that, they're doing some sort of cutting the grass outside. So I apologize if there's a little extra noise. Always something going on around here in my apartment complex. All right. But besides all of that, you've got the food court, which is amazing. I mean, the food itself is kind of eh. I know there's a Subway, there's a burger place, there's a Greek place, there's a chicken and waffles place. There's a Chinese place, there's a Mexican place, there's a barbecue place, there's an O'Charlie's, which is a steak sandwich place. Or not O'Charlie's, but something. Maybe O'Charlie's. I don't know. It's been a while. Anyways, food court's nice because it's at the one end of the convention center near the Hyatt. Basically, the Columbus Convention Center's set up in a big long line. At one end, you've got the convention center itself, the main convention hall, exhibit halls and their meeting rooms and stuff. There's a hallway called the Breezeway, and down there is the Hyatt end of the convention center, the Hyatt Hotel. And that's where most of the game rooms usually are. And I know that's where Catalyst Shadowrun stuff is usually at. I know the miniatures and everything is all the way down at the other end. In one of the exhibit halls. They do the miniatures and board games down there. But you got the gaming stuff there. You've got the Hyatt and the Big Bar on 2, which I'll talk about in just a second. But then you've also got a food court attached to it. And the food court, like I said, has a bunch of different little restaurants. And it's usually a little bit crowded, but it's really convenient. Especially, like I said, if you're running games up at that end of the convention center. Because it's literally just down an escalator and around a corner and you're there. So it's 5 minutes down, 5-10 minutes in line to grab some food, 5 minutes back up. Plus, eating time. So it's usually really quick to run down and grab something. And usually the larger gaming groups will have runners or whatever. If you're GMing events all weekend, they'll have runners that can go down and grab you food and stuff as needed. Pop and stuff. It's not the cheapest, but it's relatively it's mall food court type prices, so it's not overly expensive usually to eat there. So it's a nice reasonable cost eatery place to get food. The food's not terrible. It's not great, but like I said, it's mall food court type food. And it's really nice to have there. That is one of my favorite things about Origins. It's just that right there. Then the other big thing for Origins is the big bar on 2, and that's on the second floor of the Hyatt. There's basically an open mezzanine that looks down into the first floor, but there's a bar and there's a big long area that runs up along one side of the mezzanine, actually both sides of the mezzanine, with some tables and some like chairs and couches. And then at the far end, there's a big open area with more couches and tables and stuff. And under normal circumstances, this is just a nice big open area to hang out in. But one thing that Origins has started doing, and I believe they're doing it again this year, is that Geek Chic has been setting up down at that far end of the big bar on 2, where they actually set up a whole bunch of their Geek Chic gaming tables. And you can actually sign up for free to use these tables in the evenings. You can use them you can sign up to use them during the day, but in the evenings is when they all book up, so you really need to sign up. But it's fantastic because you can sign up for a couple hours or a block of time, and then bring in board games, card games, whatever, set up and game up there. And like I said, it's the big bar on 2, so there's waitresses that'll come around and take your drink orders and stuff, or you can go up to the bar and grab stuff, or run down to the food court and grab food and bring it up. It's really nice. It's a great area to hang. Like I said, this is one of the reasons I like Origins, is because you can just hang out and game. You do all that, and it's just fantastic. So Gen Con. Gen Con's food situation is a little bit different to a certain degree. Gen Con has some, and Origins does too. Origins has a few on-site little food kiosks built into like the exhibit halls and stuff. But they're a little pricey and they're not very good, so I'd avoid them. There's also a couple of, like a coffee shop and a couple of other things right in there too. Gen Con also has a couple of little food vendors and stuff, but again, they're kind of overpriced. You're talking, like $3, $4, $5 for one slice of pizza, that sort of thing. It's really, in my opinion, it's not worth eating there unless you just can't get out to get anywhere else. But as long as you got a little bit of free time, there are a lot of places to go. There's one section right across from the main entrance to near the exhibit halls, across the street, where they actually set up a whole crap ton of food trucks. Now, the food selection is going to be hit and miss because the food trucks will cycle in and out every few hours. So you're never entirely sure what's going to be there. But there are a lot of options. Many of the food trucks have some fantastic stuff. And like I said, so you just get a lot of options right there. Prices aren't the best. They're food trucks, so they're going to be a little pricey, but not terrible. It's not that bad. Beyond that, there are a ton of restaurants around the immediate vicinity. Everything from, for about a block away, there's a Steak and Shake. It's usually pretty crowded, but if you want to just go and get some basic cheap food, that's a great way to go. It's regular Steak and Shake prices, so you go up and, get some stuff there. But there's a number of really good restaurants. I recommend the Claddagh, which has got some good food, good Irish food, good beer, and lots of drinks and stuff. So if you want scotch, whiskey, that's a great place to go. Pardon me. Throat's getting a little dry. There's the Ram Brewery, which is fantastic. They're one of those ones that has worked with several of the gaming convention companies in the past. I know they've done D&D themed menus, and I think the last few years they've gotten together with Privateer Press and they've got a big War Machine setup theme going for a lot of their menus and stuff. They got some pretty good food. I really like the Ram, and they also usually have some sort of geek movie running on all their TVs all weekend long, which is fun. I'm a big fan of the Weber Grill. It's a restaurant run by the same company that makes the Weber grills. If you want to go get grilled meat, this place is fantastic. The food is delicious and amazing. Depending on where you're seating, you might even be able to see into the kitchen, which is kind of cool because the kitchen is this big open area, and it is basically just this like wall-to-wall giant stainless steel grills. But they have some great stuff: steak, their meatloaf. You can get some sausage, just all this stuff grilled up, and it's amazing and it's delicious. On top of that, the other thing I really like going for there is the bread. As like an appetizer before the meal, they'll bring you baskets of bread rolls, like most places do, most nicer places. Except for this place does these pretzel bread buns, and then they have like this cheddar butter spread. Oh, it is delicious. I actually every time we go there, I run the risk of filling up on those buns before dinner even comes. Weber's not the cheapest place to eat, but it is amazing and fantastic. There's a lot of other places in the area as well. There's the Tilted Kilt's a lot of fun. There's just a bunch of other places that are just really good. And then there's a handful of places that are pretty cheap and easy to get into as well, depending on how far you want to walk. But within about a 2 to 3 block radius, there's a crap ton of places to eat. So food is not a problem in Indianapolis, which is great. So be sure to get out and get your food. All right, the exhibit halls. This will be a big thing for you. People don't think about it. They like, oh, well, I'm going to go in and I'm going to game all this day. I'm going to game all this day. I'm going to game all this day. Leave a day, at least a good solid block of several hours open during the day, because the exhibit hall is usually only open 10 till about 6, except on Sundays where they usually close a little earlier. But be sure to leave yourself at least a couple of hours. And at Gen Con, you may want to make it a couple extra hours to go look at the exhibit hall. There are a ton of booths. A lot of the game companies are there. A lot of game designers and writers and authors and artists are going to be there. So there's a lot to see. And if you're into just gaming, there's a lot to go and just see as far as new product, new games, check out demos. There'll be a lot of stuff that you normally wouldn't see at your gaming store because small press stuff or whatever that isn't going to be getting carried. So you might want to check that out, and a lot of the booths are running demos. So you want to leave yourself some time to check out those. But like I said, even if you're just wanting to walk up and down every single aisle and see all the booths, you're talking an hour or two minimum for Origins. You're talking 2 to 3 hours minimum at Gen Con. So be sure to leave yourself some time. But again, if you're into the game industry itself, like you know the game writer, you know your writers, you have your favorite authors, artists, whatever, you're going to want to spend a little extra time there because there's going to be many of these guys there. So you're going to stop at a booth and you might be able to, meet, your favorite author and get to talk with them for a few minutes. You might be able to meet your favorite artists, talk to them. Even if you're not planning to buy anything, they appreciate knowing that they have fans. They appreciate knowing that people, like their work, and if you can buy something from them, that's even better, because obviously they'll appreciate that even more. Just the things to keep in mind: A, be polite. Don't go up to a game designer and start telling them what they did wrong. Because A, they've heard it all a million times on the forums and online and whatever, and in person. B, yeah, you're just one voice in a crowd, I mean, you might want to make your voice, you might want to make your displeasure known, but going up to them in person is just rude. Especially at a game convention where they're going to be really, really busy. So don't go up to somebody to start, hey, I played your game and it kind of sucks. That's a quick way for them to just tune you out. They might be polite enough, they'll probably be polite enough to, put up with you while you're there. But trust me, the second you start saying how much you hate their game, chances are pretty good they've completely tuned you out and you no longer matter. What you say isn't going to matter to them. I mean, they probably care. I mean, don't get me wrong. Most game designers care when people don't like the game. But the problem is you just got so much going on at a convention, especially if you're working at the show, that you don't have time to put a lot of energy into one person's complaints. You just don't. I mean, it's just one of those things. And like I said, it's just kind of the height of rudeness. The other thing, if you like the game, it's cool to tell them you like the game, But the flip side of being rude is don't be overly enthusiastic. I mean, be enthusiastic. It's when you see somebody come up to you and they will tell you how much they love something you worked on. It's a great feeling. I mean, trust me, I've been there, and it's awesome. That will, that helps re-energize you, and it's a just a shot of happiness and adrenaline. But at the same time, don't be that guy. Don't be the guy that comes up and starts telling them about your campaign. Don't be the guy that comes up and starts telling them about your character. The fact of the matter is, game designers have been through a lot of gaming stuff with their games. And unless they ask you, unless they're sitting down with you one-on-one or whatever, and they're really talking to you about it, chances are real good they don't want to know about your characters and whatever. And again, it's not that they don't care. It's that they don't have the time. And you glomming onto them for 15 minutes to go on and on and on about how your character, your super special snowflake, did this and this and this, and his buddies with dunkles on, and, took out Loftweir, and, has a running feud with Harlequin, or whatever, that might be amusing, it might be fun, it might be cool, but that's 15 minutes you just sucked away from this person, and it's time that he might have been spending doing other work. It's time he might have been spent, meeting other fans that are waiting to talk to him. So don't monopolize these guys. Don't be an uber fanboy. Be a fan, but don't be that guy that's so, don't be the ultra fan. But like I said, also don't be an asshole. Don't be rude. Be polite. Tell them how much you enjoyed their work. If you have something that you specifically like, feel free to call it out. You're like, I'm a big fan of yours. I specifically, I especially like book 1, or I especially like book 3, or I especially like the Court of, whatever book that you worked on, whatever. Feel free to tell them what you liked, but don't spend too much time. A couple of minutes, and, now if they're just sitting around bored, and they look like they're really wanting to talk, then you might be able to open it up and go a little bit more. But again, avoid, too much of that, if you can help it. So yeah, like I said, go around, meet these people, talk to them, enjoy the show. Gen Con's going to be a little bit better for that because you're going to have a lot more people there. But at the same time, Gen Con's also going to be more crowded. So it's harder to actually get in and talk to people for more than a second. Even me, as many of the game designers and stuff that I know and that I'm friends with and I love talking to, and I believe most of them enjoy talking to me. Most of the time I do drive-bys on the booths and basically like, hey Jack, hey Bob, hey whoever, good to see you, glad to see you, we'll catch up later if we can. And, and that'll be it. That'll be all I'll see of them all weekend for the most part, other than when I'm walking by their booth. Just because, it gets so busy. So, Origins, it's a lot easier to stop and talk with them. You might even be able to catch them up at the big bar or whatever, and in that's a situation where, if they seem, amenable to it, you might be able to buy them a drink or, whatever, and sit down and chat for a little bit. But don't impose. Don't assume you're invited. Be cool. Be chill. Don't get too into it. Okay. Beyond that, gaming. Sign up for the games you want to play. I mean, that's a big thing. Try not to sign up for too much because, again, like I said, you're going to want time. You're going to want time for food. You're going to want time to go look around. If you've got friends that are going to be, if you know people that are there, or you got friends that are going to the convention, you're going to want to be able to spend time with them as well. So don't overbook yourself, but do sign up for your games. Be sure to read the descriptions. I can't tell you how many times people show up at a game and they don't bother to read the information we provide, because both Origins and Gen Con, the descriptions for each event, they include things like suggested age range. Sometimes the games we're running aren't designed for kids. I mean, honestly, most Shadowrun games, we try to be pretty friendly about things, but, we don't necessarily, they're not really designed for a 5-year-old to step up to the table. And I know there's definitely games, that are designed that, especially some of like the World of Darkness stuff or Cthulhu games or whatever, which tend to be designed and run for a more mature audience. So they want a certain age limit. So be sure to read that, especially if you're planning to bring your kids along. Check and make sure that. Second thing, check and make sure you got your rules knowledge. They'll usually tell you what the minimum rules knowledge you need to be. And it'll usually be like, newbies welcome, or, some rules not required, or expert rules required. Don't show up at a tournament if you don't know the game. I mean, the game masters will do their best to accommodate you, but A, if it's a tournament, that's probably going to hurt you anyways. And B, if the game master is not planning, if he doesn't put down that newbies are welcome, it means that he did not build in time to explain rules. And that's a big deal, because at conventions you only have a 4-hour block. You have less than 4 hours usually, because the game starts at 2. The next game block might start at 6. Which means that you need to be done before 6 so that people have time to get up and walk to their next game if they've got back-to-back games. So you really only have about 3 hours and 45 minutes at best. You're going to be spending some time at the beginning of the game handing out characters and getting set up and getting ready to play, introducing yourselves around the table, and then you're diving into the game. That doesn't give you a lot of leeway. So unless the game specifically says, new players welcome, don't show up if you don't know the rules. I mean, you can, and a lot of game masters will do their best to accommodate you. But honestly, you're really kind of you're taking away from everybody else's game time and gameplay by doing that. And, it's like, you don't want to be a jerk, but you gotta pay attention. Also, materials provided or not materials provided. That means whether, character sheet provided. Bring dice, bring a pencil. At the very least, bring dice and a pencil. Because the game master is not always going to have enough dice to go around the table. Most game masters try to have a bag of dice because they know it happens. I know I always did. I always brought extra pencils, but it's always kind of annoying. And far too often, my dice and pencils walk off on me. And that's also annoying because I buy decent dice. I don't like cheap dice. I'm like that. So, bring your own stuff. Bring your dice. Read the material. Read the description and prepare. That's the biggest thing I can suggest for that. For Shadowrun, we mainly run Shadowrun missions at conventions. And Shadowrun missions is a living campaign. This means that you need to have a character when you show up to a game. If you don't have a character, you can use an archetype out of the book, but we're not going to be able to take time to make characters. Now, that said, one of the things we started doing a few years back was we started doing character generation sessions. So there will be games you can sign up for, basically sessions you can sign up for. Originally, I know a few years ago when we first started doing it, it was a 4-hour session where you made a character and played a short adventure. Now we've broken that down so that they're shorter blocks. So there's basically a 2-hour block where you make characters, and then there's a 2-hour block where you play a short intro adventure. So that's, so if you coming to the convention and you don't have a missions character already made, sign up for one of those first. That'll be the first thing you want to do, because otherwise you're going to get stuck playing one of the sample characters archetypes out of the core book. And they're not terrible, but they're not great. No, you want to make your own character. And like I said, being a living campaign, bringing your own character is important. Be sure, ahead of time, try to find and read the materials. There's an FAQ. Be sure to look at that, especially before you make your character, because there's a lot of character creation rules in there. Because being a living campaign, there are restrictions. There have to be. Because you're sitting down at a table where you may not know the GM or any of the players, and they don't know you. So there's going to be certain things that just aren't going to apply to a living campaign. especially when it comes to like edges and flaws, the negative and positive qualities. Because there's just some of them that are designed for long-term play, or stuff that the GM has to incorporate into the game for them to apply. And at a convention game, you just don't have the time. I mean, it's unfortunate, but it's true. So, don't take those sorts of things. Be sure to read them so you get the full rules. And again, because it being a living campaign, everybody needs to be on the same page as far as everything goes. So it's a good way to make sure that you're playing on the same level playing field as everybody else. So, don't be afraid to make friends. Don't be afraid to go out and do stuff. Find people, because the conventions really, they're a social thing. That's, if you're not a social person, you're probably not going to enjoy a convention, unfortunately. But, there's so much to do and so many things to see and so many people to talk to. Be sure to do it. Go and do as much as you can, but again, don't overdo it. And, at the end of the day, you're also going to have to accept that there's going to be stuff you can't do. Like I said, every year I lament the fact that there are dozens of people, hundreds of people probably, that I only see in passing, that I would love to sit down and talk to, go out to dinner with, hang out with, game with, and I just never get the chance to because it's just there's too much to do. Too much to do, too many people to see, and everything. So you got to pick your battles, and you got to just, focus on what's going to give you the most amount of fun. And, don't lament when you can't get to things. If you can't get to a game, bummer, but, roll with it. You can't get to see somebody you wanted to see and hang out with. It sucks, but, these things happen. But like I said, most of all, just have fun. That's the biggest thing I can say is, gaming conventions are supposed to be fun. They are fun. I love them, and it's killing me not to be there this year. The Shadowrun Scotch Squad has been running in full force for several nights, for 2 nights in a row now, and I know tonight's going to be another one, and I'm not there to party with them, and makes me so sad. But, like I said, next year, we'll party on. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's going to be it. That's plenty. I've babbled far too much already. Thank you for watching. As always, this video is made possible by the wonderful support of my Patreon backers. If you're interested in helping in becoming a patron and supporting me as I create these videos, other videos, various bits of writing and fiction and game materials and stuff like that, possibly even joining in on the Patreon Shadowrun game I've been running, please check out the link in the description below. Like this video if you liked it. Subscribe if you want to check out more videos that I've done. Thank you all for watching. Hopefully you get to go to the conventions this year or next year. If you go next year, definitely look me up. Thanks a lot, folks. Have a good one, and we'll catch you next time.